Thank you for joining today's Tech Talk, Introduction to Implementation Optimization Resources, Samples and Tools. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Vince Angeloni, Senior Fast Track Solution Architect, Michele Maisuko, Senior Fast Track Solution Architect, Nuno Silva, Senior Fast Track Solution Architect, and Joseph Thomas, also Senior Fast Track Solution Architect. Michele, over to you to get us started.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this Tech Talk on Fast Track Implementation Resources for Dynamics 365. In this series, we will explain what implementation resources are, what you should expect from this collection, and have a first look at some of our samples and tools. In the next episodes, we'll present additional content related to customer service in the areas of channel integration framework, additional samples and tools, testing, and analytics. This series will focus on customer service solutions, but stay tuned for similar initiatives on other Dynamics 365 product areas. You will find details on all upcoming Tech Talk events for this and other series in the Dynamics 365 community portal. On today's episode, we'll start with a quick overview on who is Fast Track and what we do, talk about our implementation guide and implementation resources. We'll then take a deeper look at some of these resources that are available today for your customer service implementations. So let's talk about Fast Track and implementation resources. As you probably know, Fast Track is a customer success program by Microsoft, composed by a team of solution architects who will engage with customers and partners to support the design and implementation of Dynamics 365 solutions and go live with confidence. To learn about Fast Track for Dynamics 365 and project eligibility, please refer to the link in the presentation. Success by Design is our prescriptive guidance and framework for designing, building, and deploying Dynamics 365 solutions. It is focused on the core principles of early detection, proactive guidance, and predictable success. If you want more information about Success by Design, you can explore the provided link. The implementation guide represents our collective knowledge and experience to lead customers and partners on their Dynamics 365 implementation journey. You can access the implementation guide through the link in the presentation. As part of our implementation guide, we created a collection of resources to help organizations who are starting a new Dynamics 365 project. We create these resources leveraging our learnings from the projects we have been involved and the needs and ideas that we constantly collect being part of the solution design process. Our goal is to fill the gap on requirements that are not entirely fulfilled with standard features by providing examples to kickstart your custom implementation. At the same time, we want to provide tutorials and guidance on how to use existing product features in specific scenarios. Of course, we do all of this in collaboration with our product team to align on product vision, roadmap, and best practices. We called this collection Implementation Resources, and you can access it as a section within our implementation guide. As anticipated, this series will focus specifically on the resources that are available for customer service projects. So, where can you find these resources? You can access the collection from the shared link, which will bring you to the homepage of the customer service area of the implementation resources. We'll constantly update the collection over time, so make sure to bookmark this link and check back regularly for new and refreshed content. Which content should you expect in this collection? We want to provide you with examples of customizations to other specific scenarios, with code snippets and sometimes starter packs that you can download to start prototyping your solution. Tutorials and how-to guides to provide step-by-step instructions on how to leverage existing product features for specific needs, with reference to the existing product documentation. The areas that we cover at the moment are omnichannel, including working with a multi-session experience in customer service workspace, unified routing and the channel integration framework, Copilot Studio and artificial intelligence, analytics, ALM. Before we deep dive on the available resources, let's answer some of the common questions about implementation resources. Are these resources officially supported by Microsoft? Although we implement our deliverables by following best practices and recommendations, these are not to be considered part of the product. These resources must be considered community content, documentation, and starter samples to implement your own project, not the final product for production use. When you decide to use these resources, you will use them as a reference or guidance to build your own solution. Can I contribute to these resources? All the articles are published in our Learn portal, which is curated by Microsoft. However, some resources will have a corresponding GitHub repo to host code samples and starter solutions. We'll also evaluate additional collaboration opportunities in the future. Can I submit my ideas for new resources? You can forward your proposals through the Ideas portal, which is one of the sources we evaluate for new deliverables. Additionally, if you have Fast Track engaged on your project, you can also share your suggestions with the assigned solution architect. Now, over to Vince for an overview of our samples and tools collection.
Hello everyone, this is Vince. Nice to meet you. Today we are going to present to you sample and tools in customer service. This is a collection of sample code components like solution and documents that have been created to help customer service projects with various tasks like, for example, customization, configuration, and operational with the platform. The goal of the samples is to offer usable and easy to follow resources for customer service developers and users. We made areas, as we can see in the slide, to organize all the topics, or what we call deliverables. The main areas that we created are unified routing, omnichannel, artificial intelligence, and Copilot Studio. In the near future, we will expand this list of areas to cover more aspects of the customer service. Today, in this session, part 1, we are presenting the following one that I marked in red. Channel-based presence. This is a sample how to set presence on a specific channel for an agent. After we have set up as an agent capacity for custom entity, and we enter in the omnichannel area. The first deliverable that we'll show you today is a custom record identification rule. In other words, how to customize the rule for the customer identification. Next one is a sample context parsing. We show you how to access context variable from JavaScript. Next one is related to live chat widget customization samples. And the latest is agent script and macro samples, where we show a real implementation of this capability that we have in Dynamics 365. Now I leave the line to the next presenter, Joseph Thomas. Hey Joe, over to you.
Thank you, Vince. We'll now talk about our channel-based presence solution. This solution has been presented to us by multiple customers and occurs regularly within a contact center environment. An agent is typically involved or assigned to multiple queues that can route multiple items their way based on your setup. Whether this involves skill-based or capacity-based routing, our solution works. Agents are often presented with situations with customers that don't always align with the goals of either skill or capacity-based routing setups. And there's a need to be able to depart from these models temporarily to allow agents to better serve their customers. In our example, this agent is actively engaged in, say, 2 live chat sessions and a voice call. Perhaps this voice call becomes an escalation, and our agent needs to do additional research or contact another expert to gather additional information. In either case, our agent and our customer would be better served if the agent would not continue to be bombarded with additional routed items. In order to achieve this today, our agent would have to contact their manager or whoever's in charge of managing their queue assignments. The manager must then navigate to the user record, see all of the queues that they're assigned to, and individually remove them from those queues until the situation resolved, at which point our agent has to contact their manager again so that the manager can reassign them back into their original queue assignments. There are several manual steps that can be avoided here, and significant time lost in call center environments where seconds and minutes equals dollars. So with this solution, our agent can be presented with the same situation, perhaps multiple times per day, and not have to involve their manager or lose precious minutes or seconds. All our agent has to do is to select the custom button on the primary ribbon that you can see in the top right-hand corner of the diagram there. This presents the agent with options to opt in or opt out of specific channels. In this example, we have chat, case, and voice channels. Let's watch a brief video on this functionality in a live environment. Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to briefly review the Optimize 25 deliverable called Channel-Based Presence. We're going to take a brief look at what this looks like from the agent's perspective within the customer service workspace. Take a look at the setup in unified routing, and then I'll show you briefly where to find these assets out on GitHub so that you can spin this up in your environment and test it out to see if it meets your needs. The first customization you'll notice here in the customer service workspace is a custom button on the top right-hand corner. This is separate from the native presence functionality. When you click this channel button, it opens up a custom user form with 3 custom fields as we have it shown here. This allows the user to, in real time, opt in or opt out of a particular channel. So let's say, for example, they're handling several chats based on your setup, and at this point in time, they don't want to accept any incoming cases. So they have that ability. This will not interact with their native presence and allow them to remain available so that the other records that they've opted into will, in fact, route to them accordingly. Once they make these modifications, they simply save and close, and then the assignment rules that are in unified routing will take that into consideration. We're going to briefly pivot over to take a look at those assignment rules. If you navigate to queues and advanced queues and select the appropriate one that you want to modify, this one, for example, is called case opt-in. So there's a series of variables in here to account for. We've simply added one at the bottom, which is we call it the case opt-in form on the user record. And when this equals opt-in, this assignment rule set will route cases to agents who have that selected as opt-in. This way you're not moving agents in and out of queues because there is a little bit of a delay in that regard. So this does it in real time and allows your agents to react in real time without management involvement. Go ahead and pivot over here to our MS Learn documentation, and I won't bore everyone with reading through this, but it provides specific definitions of the use case, some commentary on possibilities for security options that might be there, a quick tutorial on creating channels and some of the assignment rule functionality, and it will also provide you a link towards downloading the solution on GitHub. So thank you everyone for your time today. Excellent. So we're just going to take a minute here and review what's included in the solution. It's fairly simple and basically contains the following: JavaScript and instructions for the custom button that we mentioned, 3 Boolean fields, and a custom form on the user entity, as well as, of course, instructions on how to implement this. So once you import this and spin it up, obviously there can be some changes and variations based on your requirements. It's important. You'll need to add one line to your assignment rules associated with your advanced queues that incorporates that opt-in and opt-out Boolean fields, as we mentioned in the video. It's also important to note that the out-of-the-box assignment methods are not editable, and therefore, in order to leverage this functionality, you have to create a custom assignment method along with the assignment rules that contain these Boolean fields. So we'll now move on to talk about the next feature, which is agent capacity for custom entities. So within unified routing today, the majority of our customers are routing the case record. As we onboard more and more customers to Omnichannel, the variety of business processes we have been presented involve routing more than just the native case record. With unified routing, when a case record is routed to an agent, it does so by finding the next available agent who meets either the skill-based requirements or the capacity requirements configured in your system, creating a queue item record as the mechanism for assigning that to the agent. This automation is not native for any other entity that may need to be routed. Our solution here provides a no-code and a low-code option that replicates this regular out-of-the-box functionality. Detailed instructions are provided on the Microsoft Learn link. Before we dive into the particulars about the recommended solution, however, we're going to talk a moment about how your defined business process will affect how you build out this solution. So what's critical is that you have a well-defined business process. In particular, you have defined the trigger and what it means to be complete. Let's start with the trigger. It might make sense to trigger your routing when a custom entity record is initially created. That may not work in all instances, though. Perhaps the record gets created by an agent, and there may be some time that passes before your business wants to route the record. Maybe the agent has to collect some additional information internally from the client. Perhaps you have a business process flow on this entity that controls and moves the status reason through a predefined process. Whatever the case may be, it is likely that you will need to modify the trigger to suit your specific process needs. In addition, it's important to define what it means for this custom entity record to be complete. It could be as simple as an agent deactivates the record upon completion, but as in the previous example, perhaps your processes are more complex, and it may not be as simple as deactivation equals completion. In short, it's important that you examine, define, and ensure that the appropriate team members who represent the business have signed off on these items. So let's talk about option number one. This is our no-code option. We leverage functionality that's available natively in Power Automate. So there's two flows that are involved here. Flow number one, this is the automation that will create the queue item record that will initiate the routing action. I'll forgo talking about the specifics of what the trigger should be, as this will be determined by your specific business process. The nuance here is in the next steps in the flow. You'll want to add a step in your flow from Dataverse and select the perform an unbound action step. When defining this action step, you must select the action name, and as you can see here, it's the apply routing rule entity record action. You then reference the relevant record that triggered the flow. Ensure that in the item target section, you have the appropriate syntax that includes the entity name as well as parens around the entity reference. Now, flow number two, this automation represents the end of the routing action. It will complete the queue item record and remove the assigned agents so that their capacity is cleared. Again, I'll forgo talking about the trigger here because this will be dependent upon your business processes. In our example, we have defined completion to mean that our custom entity record has been deactivated. This triggers our flow, at which point, as a final check, we have a condition to make sure that it is in fact completed. It then lists the associated queue item record and update that queue item record status as completed and removes the agent user from the work by field, thereby ending the routing action. So option number two is our low-code option via plugin. So for the low-code option, everything we talked about in the no-code option is relevant. Your triggers and completion definitions must be defined and incorporated into your plugins. The only difference here is that you can leverage the example C# code to build a plugin to invoke that apply routing rule entity record function, as well as the completion of the queue item record at the end of your process. We provide this option as we've realized that some business processes might dictate a more real-time requirement, and as such, the asynchronous nature of Power Automate could disrupt the desired business processes. There are links in the presentation to the sample code plugin. At this time, I will hand over the presentation to Nuno Silva as he talks about custom record identification. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Joe. This is Vince, but that's okay. And this is the next deliverable is a customer record identification. And let me introduce the topic. In the omni-channel for customer service, we can identify the customer on incoming conversation, providing the chance to view account, contact, and case in the conversation page when the session is opened. In Microsoft Learn documents, there is an article that explains how it works and how it can be used. I put a summary table in the slide. As we can see, the contacts are identified by using a name, email address, and a mobile phone. The same for the account. Instead, for the case, the variable used to identify is the case number. However, in some cases, we can consider that the customer identification must follow custom logic. For example, considering then an IVR, interactive voice response, asks to the caller for an account number directly. Yes, because a better way to identify the customer is by the account number, since the customer may use different mobile phones numbers to call, but the account number is unique. In this way, the IVR can find the customer in database, so it retrieves directly by using account number, and in this case, the customer identification can directly use account number column instead of the out-of-the-box columns that are listed here. And this can be set in the fetch XML because record identification rule is based on fetch XML logic search. This article describes how to customize the rule by using the custom fetch XML search criteria. In the slide, we can see a very simple condition that in this case use the account number to identify the customer. So now let's move to the next deliverable, context parsing JavaScript. Let me introduce what are context variables. The context variables are data that provide information about the conversation, such as, for example, channel, customer profile, and custom settings. You can add your own custom context variable on work stream level. And you can use custom variables to create routing rules that assign conversation, for example, to different queue based on this data. You can also use context variable in tools that help agents work more efficiently, such as macros and agent scripts. And in this case, we'll see later in the presentation also this agent script and macro. Anyhow, additionally, you might want to access context variable from custom JavaScript code, for example, in a web resource that is located in a conversation form, or you would implement custom logic based on context variables. In this article, the link is in the chat as well. You can find a very simple code snippet like this one that is listed directly in the slide. For example, in this case, we are retrieving the customer name from a context variable in JavaScript and just show the result in a message alert. So let's move to the next deliverable that is related to agent, script, and macros. I like this one very much. In the customer service workspace, we have these agent script and macros capabilities. The agent script, let me say, in my opinion, play a crucial role in minimizing human errors during the resolution process. For example, when an agent is working in a session, like in this screen, the agent script serve a structured guidelines directing customer service agents on the necessary steps to take during the interaction. By aligning with the established business process, agent scripts empower agent to provide the swift and consistent resolution. There are not only This one not only reduce the average handling time, but also enhances customer satisfaction. For example, now in this slide, we can see the agent script opened in the right side pane. Okay, we can see Contoso support and the action, greeting, send initial response, clone case, collaboration task. We based this deliverable on a document that is called the Customer Service Workspace in a Day Hands-on Lab. You can find all the links also to this document in the article, and this document explains how to work with Customer Service Workspace and Agent Script and Macro. Alongside this document, we created the solution to provide to you a ready-to-use sample without to start the implementation from zero, from scratch. In the article, you can find a link to download a ready-to-use Power Platform solution from GitHub, and in the same folder, there is an associated PDF guide that explains how to create macro step by step. We created also some videos in order to explain to work with these capabilities. In the next video, there is a short demo.
In this short video, we are going to see the agent scripts and macros automation, which an agent can perform to do their day-to-day activities. And these steps and macros, which you will see in this video, are already defined in the Customer Service Workspace in a Day document, and it is easily available for download from MS Learn site. So I am in the Customer Service Workspace, and let's say I'm looking into this case. This is my issue. It is a samples case. When I open up the case, I see two tabs which got automatically opened. The first one is about Bing search, which is searching with respect to the issue. The second one, the second tab shows the details about the customer record. These two are done as part of the automation. On the right side pane, you see the agent scripts. If I click here, you will see all the different agent scripts which has been configured. As part of the tutorial, we have configured 4 different agent scripts. The first one is about providing the guidance to wish the customer. It is just an help. The second one is about an automation to create an email quickly. And this is primarily used for sending an acknowledgement. On click on this run button, we will see a new tab getting open, which has the draft email. So the helpman is kept in the center. The agent can now update or make changes which is necessary for him or her, and accordingly he or she can send this email. The next script is about cloning of case. On click of this run, it will create a clone of the case in the new tab, as you can see. So like this, we can perform the automations of different activities which are necessary for the agent to solve their day-to-day life work. Thank you for watching.
Okay. In the next video, instead, we can see how to work in the configuration stage with macros.
Here we are going to see how to create macros. As part of our customer service workshop, hands-on step-by-step guide, all of these details has been provided. I will just take you through the journey of how to create those macros. First, you need to log into Dynamics and come to Customer Service Admin Center. From there, under agent scripts, go to productivity. In the productivity, when you scroll down, you will see options to create macros. We'll go inside the macros. So here, there are 3 macros which has been defined as part of that workshop. One is the send initial response. Second one is the clone case. Third one is the collaboration task. So we'll take a quick look in each one, every macro. I have already pre-created them, so I'll just take you through it for the interest of time. When you open the first macro, send initial response, it sends the email to customer informing case acknowledgement. It starts with the macro execution. It is a flow which goes step by step. The first step is to configure, open an email form with a predefined template. Second one, this is a macro which will autofill the forms based on the information which you have provided. And the final step is to save the record. So once you fill in all the details based on what has been provided in the document, it should look somewhere like what I just showed you. We'll move to the next macro, which is clone the case. Okay, so this creates a copy of the current case. The first step always starts with the macro execution. The second step is to clone the record given a macro input, and it opens up in the new tab. The third step, it actually autofills all the fields based on the information which has been provided, which in this case is the ticket number. Next step is to save the record, then get the current tab and refresh the tab so that all the information gets reflected. So once you have all of these steps done, you should be good with the macro to clone a case. Let's move to the next one, which is the collaboration task. It is a relatively simpler macro. It creates a task for collaboration purpose. Like other 2 macro which you have seen, it always starts with a macro execution and saves the record as the last step. Here we have only one step, which is open the new form to create the task. The task as an entity is the one which we have set, and these are some of the values. The details of them are already available in the workshop and also in the link in the Learn document. You can follow the steps and create this macro. So this completes our first step of creation of macros. Thank you.
Okay. Let me start the next video. Sorry. Let me start the next video.
This is the last step of associating agent scripts and session templates. So when we left last in the creation of the agent scripts, we'll go to under same customer service admin center, under agent experience, we'll go to overview, click on session template, and we'll have to create a new session template. I have already created a session template and control session template for cases. I will open the same to quickly navigate you through the different options. So the session template shows the different behaviors which will be performed during an agent session. In this particular session, we have 2 additional tabs which will get open. One is for the Contoso, Bing tab. The other one is the customer tab. So if I click on this additional tab option and the contours of Bing tab, you'll see that it is nothing but it just searches in Bing about that customer details. The next one is the contours of customer tab. It shows the customer details in another tab. Once you're done with setting up these additional tabs, you can come to the agent script from what you have already created in the previous step, and from the existing agent script, you can find within the lookup and select. I have already done and configured into contours of support. Once this state is done, we go back to overview and click on agent experience profile. Within the agent experience profile, I have to create a new experience profile. I have already created the Contoso agent profile, and then I have configured which will be my section template to be used. Once this is done, I just need to come back and set this as the default profile by clicking on Set as Default. It shows up the dialog box to confirm. So I click on confirm, and then that's it. It sets the Contoso agent profile. So now, when you go to customer service workspace and the user logs in, it opens up the record, and in the two additional tabs, the greetings is shown, the case gets cloned, and the initial email template also opens up. Thanks for listening.
Okay, now I move the line to Nuno Silva for the next one. Hey, Nuno, over to you.
Hello, everybody. So let's start to talk about live chat widget customization. Live chat is the most used channel in omni-channel for customer service. With out-of-the-box configurations, in few clicks, we have a variety of configurations that allow us to affect the chat UI, behavior, and look and feel. In any case, we cannot forget that companies have concerns with their branding and style, and in our projects, we may face requests to customize the chat widget to adjust accordingly. Having this in consideration, we created a library of sample code, JavaScript code, that will allow you to customize your chat widget in a simple way. Our library, or this library, it's a basic website from where you can get the instructions on how to use the code itself, and you can even try it, the suggested customization. I need to emphasize that in our sample library, there is a section with some instructions on how to use our sample code. Because this is a sample code, when using it, you need to adjust the parameters to connect to your environment. This may sound obvious, but our intent is that non-expert developers also use this. These are the parameters that need to be changed, and you have also a screenshot like this in our instructions page in our sample website. As we can see here, the parameters to change are the source of your environment, where you have the live chat bootstrapper JavaScript, the ID, and then some details about the org ID, the app ID, the org URL, the type of environment or the version of the environment, and we are adding a parameter to the out-of-the-box script that we get when we do the out-of-the-box configuration. In this case, we are calling our JavaScript function that we will use to develop our customizations. Now, let me show you some examples of what we can achieve with these customizations. So, in this example here, if you are familiarized with the out-of-the-box widget configuration, we can define the position of our chat widget to the bottom right or bottom left of your web page. In any case, you may have situations where you can have a banner on the bottom of the screen or some information that you don't want to be hidden by the widget. And with this simple customization, we can adjust the position of our widget. Let me show you quickly how simple is the code that we can have. So as you can see here, we have the out-of-the-box script for our widget, our new parameter to call our JavaScript function, and then here on the top,
we created a new script containing the JavaScript code to adjust the position of the widget. Moving to the next example, in this customization, what we are doing is changing the pre-chat content. As you can see, or if you are familiarized again, when you are creating a pre-chat survey, you can create questions. But depending on the business that you are operating, sometimes you have legal obligations to put disclaimers when you are collecting information from your customers. In this example here, what we did was to put a disclaimer message before the fields to collect the data that we want to collect. Again, very simple code, the same structure here, and the function here where we have the payload of our adaptive card, and we are putting here our custom message to change the UI on the pre-chat survey. Now, this one is a very interesting one, and in here we are already changing or customizing the behavior of our chat. Usually, in the out-of-the-box experience, when you click on the button to open your chat widget, the chat widget will slide up and start loading. What we are doing with this customization is to pop out the window and have the pre-chat survey in a pop-up window. This pop-up window can be moved to the side, to the next screen, and allow you to continue to work on the main screen, right? And as you can see next, even after submitting the pre-chat survey, we can still have the chat on top of that pop-up window. So this can be a very useful feature when you have requests or business requirements to have the capability to pop out the chat so that the users can continue to work and still chatting with the agent. Let's go through quickly the code. What we did here, again, having our JavaScript function to adjust the header, and what we did here was to add a new parameter to our out-of-the-box script. In this case, we had the window open parameter equal to true. Now, changing a little bit the look and feel of our widget. In this customization, what we do is to change the bubble color. What we did it was to change it to green, overwriting the out-of-the-box configuration. And as you can see, even the splash screen when loading the chat widget is affected by the change. Let's have a quick look into the code used to do this. Following the same approach always, JavaScript function where we can control the style of the widget even after loading, where we have the web chat container configurations and the styles for background, text color, and so on. One more time, the secret here is not on the function, but on the parameters of the script. That we are adding a new color here, overwriting the out-of-the-box configuration color. One recommendation that I would like to leave here, and this is not for expert developers, I'm talking more directly to less experienced developers or even non-developers that want to use these customizations, to make sure that you don't break the code that we develop. It can be a good practice to use the copy-paste, the very old copy-paste, copy the scripts that we provide, and then adjust the parameters comparing with what you have in your out-of-the-box code snippet. So this way you guarantee that the code that was developed by us will not fail, and you achieve the desired customization. And the final one, changing the look and feel again of the chat widget button. What we did here was changing the shape and changing the icon, and we used here our company logo to make it more personalized, and again, having in consideration branding requirements in the business requirement. On this one here, we don't have parameters anymore. We just have the parameter to call our JavaScript function, as you can see below, and then the magic happens in the function where we change the shape of the button, and where we had the image that will be shown as an icon. And with this, I conclude my description and my examples. I just want to let you know that the sample library that we have, the intent is to make it grow, to bring more and more customizations. And if you feel that you have ideas that could be valuable for us to develop some customization on the script and you don't know how to do it, please feel free to share this with us in the ideas, and we will have a look, and if possible to achieve, we will implement and we will make it available in the next iterations of our library. With this, I conclude my presentation. Michele, back to you, and it should be time for questions.
Yes, thank you, Nuno. Thanks to all the presenters. So first of all, if you wonder whether you can have a copy of this presentation material, the answer is yes. We will share both the presentation and the recordings, normally within a couple of weeks from the event. These will be published in our YouTube channel, and you can also access that from our community portal. The community portal, as we said earlier, is also the place where you can discover about the dates for future events in this series and other series. Now, we will share in the presentation the link, the AKA MS link, where you can access all of these resources. We posted that also in the Q&A panel. From that website, you have the implementation resources section in our implementation guide. You can access the full articles on the same content that we gave you an overview today, especially for some of the solutions like channel-based presence, or agent scripts and macros. You will also find a link to the attachment of the solution that you can actually download to start testing that solution, or for the live chat widget customization that Nuno just explained. We also set up a playground website where you can actually see the end result and, as Nuno showed, the associated source code as well. Okay, so please be sure to check it out to deep dive on what we saw today. In the next episodes, we will cover additional topics like working on the channel integration framework, which we will explain you a solution we call Simulator, which will help you play around with channel integration framework and learn about the events of the framework itself. We will cover test automation using Playwright and other tools that are available today, how you can set up tests in your solution, how you can scale tests with your within your project. We will talk about also analytics. So we will give some guidance about different options that you have in historical analytics, real-time analytics, why you should use one or the other, and especially what you can do to extend the available reports in your customer service solution. As we said, please make sure to check our community portal for upcoming Tech Talk events. This is where we will publish the scheduled dates for the additional events in this series. Now, some other questions that you might have, as we explained earlier, are can I use these resources in my real project? Yes, of course you can. That's the reason why we published that. As we said, these are not meant to be a final product for production use. So anything we describe here is, of course, in line with Microsoft best practices. So if you follow our examples or if you use our sample code, you will not lose Microsoft support. But let's say if the code that we are providing to you is not doing exactly what you want, you should not open a support inquiry on this code, because it will be, your customization based on our examples. But at the same time, when you use this in your project, you don't lose support from Microsoft, because what we are suggesting is perfectly in line with our best practices. So feel free to use that. As we said, you will find some of the articles will have an accompanying solution that you can download. You can start from there to build your own solution, or you can just take it as a reference example to build your own. In any case, feel free to navigate and to leave your comments on the contents that we are providing. As the presenter said, we are constantly updating our content, so we will add new articles on different topics, and sometimes we will update the articles because of product changes, so we will refresh the content to reflect new and updated features that we have on the product. So please make sure to go back and check from time to time, because new content will be available. Also, remember to post your suggestions on the Ideas portal, and if you are working with a Fast Track architect on your project, talk with them, share your ideas, and it might become a new resource that you see published in our collection as well. Okay, so thank you, everybody. If you have some other additional questions, please use the Q&A panel to post that. Even if we don't have time to answer, we will take that offline and include our answers when we share the presentation afterwards.
Yeah, thank you, Michele. And this concludes this Tech Talk event. Thank you for attending, and thanks to our presenters, much appreciated. And thanks to you, our audience, for attending this Tech Talk today. We hope that you have a great rest of the day ahead. Thank you.